I mean, I think you have to go back to 2017, which the numbers weren't pretty then. I mean, he hit 215. I think his OPS was in the low 700s, but at least that still wasn't in that embarrassing territory where, I mean, 2018, a historically terrible, arguably the worst season in Major League history for an everyday position player. And okay, it was a little bit better in 2019. This thing's been over for a long time. I think what's unfortunate here, and not unfortunate because, hey, the Orioles, they made this decision, and hey, he's a professional ball player, and it's a results-driven business, but it's so tough to kind of marry what was the beginning of the Chris Davis era, which, I mean, we all remember how he hit at the end of the 2012 season when they're trying to, qualify and make it as a wild card, and how he went down to Tampa and had that big series where he hit that bomb to dead center, and of course hits 53 home runs in 2013, and we remember him pitching at Fenway in 2012, and 2014, of course, had the poor season and, that the Adderall suspension and what that meant, and then comes back and hits 47 home runs the following year. What I just mentioned there was a lot of good there. There was a lot of fun Chris Davis moments that were in there early on that I think just, even if you're trying, and I've seen some people on social media trying to, paint a pretty picture, but it was just so ugly over these last 4 years that me personally, and this is putting my fan hat on for a moment, it's really tough to try to reconcile the beginning of it, which was a lot of fun and was impressive. I mean, this guy has the franchise record for home runs in a season. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, those first 4 games of 2013, when I think he drove in 16 runs, I mean, just extraordinary stuff. But then what he became over these last few years, and some of it unfair to him in the sense that, they were going to go through a rebuilding regardless of whether they had elected to re-sign him or not. But he's the one who stuck. He's the one that was still here. That was the reminder of that previous Showalter Duquette era that wasn't perfect, but hey, three postseason appearances. There was a lot of fun that was mixed in there, but that wasn't the Chris
and
Davis.
Barbecue for you and I.
Yeah. But that wasn't the Chris Davis from that era whatsoever. And, I mean, this is something that should have been done 2 years ago. We know why it wasn't. And I'm not going to sit here and defend the organization about that. I mean, sunk cost is a sunk cost. At some point you're going to pay them regardless. But at this point now you move on, and he's not going to be taking up a spot on the 40-man roster in the offseason, and you move on, and you hope that this rebuild starts looking more promising at some point at the major league level, at least, because it has been absolutely brutal. Just absolutely brutal. I mean, they had the nice little start post All-Star break. They sweep the Nats. Okay, it's fun for a few days, but what we've seen over the last 2 weeks with just pitching that's just not even competitive. I mean, just absolutely woeful into the game, and you're already turning the channel. If you tuned in the first place, you're already turning the channel. So I've said this before, and it bears repeating. We knew this was going to be a long process, and when you do look at what things that are happening on the farm, there's still a lot to like, and there are things to be optimistic about. I mean, Adley Rutschman's at AAA now, for example. But the biggest disappointment for me in 2021, as it pertains to the major league team, is Dean Kramer, Keegan Aiken. Bruce Zimmerman was okay, and I mean, now the sprained ankle on top of the bicep injury. I mean, disappointing there. But Zach Lowther with injuries or ineffectiveness. This was a tier of young pitching that wasn't Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall. Let's be clear, we're not talking about guys that are top 50 prospects, but at least guys that were still relatively highly thought of in the sense
you wanted to get some fruit out of this.
That they at least had a chance.
Major league play. You wanted to find pile divers.
You're right. I mean, at least some guys that, I mean, give me a sub-5 ERA at least. I'm not asking for much there. At least come out and you can give them 5 innings and, give up 3 or 4 runs as opposed to getting bombed and you're out in the second or third and you've already lost the game, and now Brandon Hyde's scrambling to try to cover the last 6 innings of the game. and not wear out his bullpen that isn't that good either. So, for Aiken, who had extensive AAA experience already, Kramer didn't have quite as much, but we saw these guys pitch last year, and I know it was a weird, fake kind of 60-game, bizarre, surreal kind of season. So we know September baseball is a fuller. Buck Showalter used to say that all the time. Don't get too caught up in what guys do as it's September call up. But I was expecting more out of those guys, and I'll say this: it's defenders of Mike Elias in the current regime would say, well, those weren't Elias's prospects. They weren't guys that they added, but my point of contention would be, if you have enough conviction in what you do on the pitching development side and your secret sauce, so to speak, and I'm not even trying to talk about, foreign substances on the baseball there, although, it's kind of ironic to use that terminology now, but what you do in terms of your process and your development, I'm disappointed not to see more functional performance out of those guys. Now, like I said, I'm not asking for a 3 ERA. Look like you have a chance to be a fifth starter, which Bruce Zimmerman has at least done when he's been healthy. But the other guys,
you're looking for shades of Miguel Gonzalez and Wei and Chen.
I mean,
what you're looking for.
Like I said, just give me an ERA in the high fours at least, which isn't special. That's not very good, but it's at least good enough to say, I'm going to give you the ball every 5 days and let you continue to grow. I mean, these guys have just gotten pummeled.
Well, good enough to say you're a major league pitcher. These guys are major league pitchers. Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe you don't want to give up on them just yet. But at the same time, like in the case of Keegan Aiken, who has been getting starts at the major league level that he doesn't deserve, quite frankly. And that just speaks to how bad their situation is pitching wise at the major league level and where it's been at AAA right now. And I'm not talking like Mike Ballman, who, just got there recently, and he's actually gotten himself on track and has pitched really well the last couple months. But guys that are kind of just your organizational depth at the AAA level right now, that we've seen them and they're not it. I mean, it's just that simple. So that's more so than looking at their specific record or anything like that. Embarrassing factoids and these long losing streaks is just not seeing a step forward from at least a couple more of those guys. And look, they'd still be in last place. They'd still be by far the worst team in the division. They'd still be a team that's looking at a top 2 or 3 pick in the draft next year. I mean, wouldn't change any of those things, but at least you could identify a couple more positives at the major league level that frankly haven't been there. I mean, Cedric Mullins has been amazing. I mean, this is a guy who should garner MVP votes for the league. I'm not saying he's going to win, but he should garner that. He's up in that tier. He's been among the 5 or 6 best players in the American League. That's how good he's been this year.
Well, the kid that's coming in from Anaheim next Tuesday that I'm having a crab cake around with Tom Perez, he's kind of been a little special too.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, he's okay. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing Ohtani in Baltimore. There's no question.
I'm trying to figure if he's going to pitch on Tuesday or not. I'm trying to figure out the rotation.
I hope so. Because you certainly know whoever's pitching on the other side, not named John Means, isn't going to be worth watching.
Somebody said to me, will people come out to see him play? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if people even know that he will be in town. That's why I even talked about it, because I circled it. Luke, I have not been to an Oriole game this year. Now, that's not unusual since 2006. I've had a few years. I had several years where I didn't go. And lately, I go to a game or two because somebody hands me a ticket or there's just some reason to go. There's not been a whole lot of reason to go this year. Shohei Ohtani is a reason to go. So that's why I'm going and having a Fadley's crab cake next Tuesday with Tom Perez.
And that's a great call, because Shohei Ohtani is a reason to go. And, we haven't mentioned it. Thought the Field of Dreams thing last week, really cool. I thought that was neat. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it live beginning to end, but had a chance to see some chunks of it. And certainly baseball did a good job with some of the social media aspects.
Luke, I've been driving past nothing but cornfields
the
last 14 days. And the other part of it is, and this is a tribute to you and your Little League, every time I pass, because we've been off the road, man, I have passed so many, the Cambridge Little League, like Little Leagues at the end of roads near water in Southern Maryland. And there's a field. If you drive to the end of Hooper's Island, not only do you get a great crab cake at Old Salty's, okay, but Old Salty sits at the foot of Ballpark Road. And you know
Awesome.
what's on Ballpark Road? A ballpark.
There you
with
go.
a fence, an outfield Little League fence for home runs like the Bad News Bears. We didn't have that because I was poor in Dundalk.
Yeah, I didn't play on. I had a couple ball fields where we had fences, but a lot where you just hit the ball and you ran for as long as your coach told you to.
That's a field of dreams to me, you know.
But you and I've talked a lot about baseball, its future, trying to attract more fans, different things they do poorly, different things. This was something they did well. And Shohei Ohtani, we saw it at the All-Star game. He is everything right about the game right now, and he is fun. Even with the challenge of the language and an interpreter, his personality and his charisma shines through. If you've ever seen him talk with his interpreter, he is a phenomenal talent. We're watching something historic here, and we really are. And as much as people will use the Babe Ruth comparison, and look, I mean, Babe Ruth is Babe Ruth, but even Babe Ruth didn't really try to be a two-way player for too long. He kind of went from pitching, and then he was hitting a little bit more and more, and then he was done pitching within a year or two. I mean, that wasn't a long
Jackson,
time.
Deion Sanders, all that, Brian Jordan, all those guys, they did it for a minute, and they didn't do it long.
Right. It's very difficult to do. So I have no idea if Shohei Ohtani is going to play another 10 years or 5 years or this only lasts a couple years, and health or injuries or whatever catch up to him. I don't know. But what we're witnessing right now, I hope people who love baseball, even if you're disenchanted with the Orioles right now, or the state of Major League Baseball, or Rob Manfred, or any of that stuff,
or even if you don't want to give the Orioles $21 next Tuesday,
any of that, enjoy Shohei Ohtani, because what we're seeing is something that is absolutely historic. And it's funny. As you know, I'm quite close with my brother-in-law. He's a Philadelphia sports fan, and we'll talk Orioles and Phillies and everything, but. You can ask him who my sports man crush has become here over the last few months. It's Shohei Ohtani, because it is just what he's doing is just incredible. And every time he's on the TV, whether it's a game, whether it's a highlight of his, I'm stopping and watching, because we're seeing something that we have not seen very, very often in the history of the game.
Are baseball locker rooms like open with a mask? Like what's the story? What's going on with media? I don't have a press. I'm wondering, like, will he have a press what will happen when he's here next Tuesday?
There is no clubhouse access at this point. They have on-field kind of, the warning track between the dugouts. Media can go there. Brandon Hyde's pregame press pregame is in the dugout. So, we're doing that, and it's outside. So that's fine. That's a typical scrum, kind of reminds you of old media where you're just holding up your recorder, and, we're outside and everyone's vaccinated. So no concerns there. But, no clubhouse at this point. The post game for baseball is still on Zoom. They haven't facilitated in person post game.
So you don't go down to a little room where they
no. It's on the field prior to the game, and it's tough because the players are out there doing batting practice, so they're not stopping for too many interviews. But it's at least gotten back to the point. And the same thing with the Ravens now, with the in person, the podium out in Owings Mills, or the interview room with everyone masked after Saturday night's game. The interview room was open up downstairs in the bowels of the stadium. But it's at least nice to lay your own eyes on these guys, and for them to lay their eyes on you again, and say hello. And it's not back to normal just yet, but it's better than Zoom only at this point. So we're getting there, and hopefully we'll continue to move in that direction here over the next coming weeks and months.
Football, baseball, crab cakes, summer, peaches, gold watermelon. I'm doing it all. All of it brought to you by our friends at Wise Markets. I've been on the road making sure that I'm getting fresh fruits. And the thing I've been doing the most at Wise Markets, I told Rob Santoni this week, coconut water. It's been so hot. I've been going through water and coconut water on the road, and fresh fruit every morning. Big shout out to our friends at Wise. And I am going to be having the Wise crab cake. Going to be doing that at store 206 Fullerton. That's across from where Tully's used to be in Fullerton, just at Bel Air Road and the Beltway. So come on, that's the 19th. It's the day we beat the Chiefs. That morning, I will be out at probably at 11 or noon. I'll be out at Wise, and we're going to be eating the signature crab cake and eating crabs, big fat ones, hopefully from the Chop Tank River, because they're delicious down there. Lots and lots of video up of crabs and crab cakes and places and things, and the Eastern Shore and the Bill Burton Fishing Bridge. All of it brought to you by our friends at Coons Ford of Baltimore. And Dennis will be here all week long. He's getting geek for football season. And Luke will be here with him on Thursday. I will be here with him on Thursday as well. So shout out to all of our sponsors, including our friends at Planet Fitness. Make sure you're getting in shape. I'm going to be stopping at the Planet Fitness down in Salisbury, as well as in Western Maryland. A lot of our sponsors involved all over the state, not just in Baltimore. So as I make my way west next week and east to Ocean City this weekend, we'll be stopping, honking the horn, and probably eating some chicken from Royal Farms. I am Nestor. He is Luke. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking some Ravens, some Orioles, and some Baltimore positive.